Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome into Old Mountain Bricks. Glad to be with you back here in 2024. We've got an exciting Lego City update here for you today. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. We've got a few things to do. We've got some new parts that we're wanting to kind of integrate into the city, as well as placing the Avengers Tower and a few other things we're going to go over, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first thing, you might already notice a change in here if you've been watching the channel for a while. As you come into the Lego room, we've actually pulled out the table a little bit so we can get behind it. That's something I brought up here recently. I just was able to pull that out just now. So what that does, if you can see, we're going to do this together, so everybody hang on. As you come back this way, I've now added this amount of space at the back of the Lego City. So what that does is it allows me to get back here, like where I've got my A-frame cabin, and get to the back of it where I wasn't really able to do that before without either getting on the table or going around the side like I am now. But this gives you another fun view of the Lego City as we kind of scooch along the back here. You can kind of see right down our main street, and then over here with kind of our second street. Okay, and our little superhero complex right down that way, where likely we might place the Avengers Tower, and then over here, probably our train depot. But being able to reach right here is something we weren't able to do before, so I'm excited to be able to do that as we continue to expand the Lego City here in 2024. We've got a lot of modular buildings under the table here that we're going to be building, and some extra pieces like we were talking about in order to maybe like make the roads look a little better. But that's the first thing we've got done today, so let's go ahead and take a look at maybe placing that Avengers Tower. We just finished up our Avengers Tower review video just the other day here. It's just been sitting there ever since, but I've got it sitting here. Again, this thing is huge, so we're going to see what we can do in order to place this in the Lego City. Definitely going to need two hands to do this, so everybody hang on. Shoo, buddy! Man, this thing is huge if you look at it compared to the other buildings in the city. It's really tall. I'm wanting to place it somewhere over here, but I've already hit a dilemma. Um, the entrance to the building is, as it should be, on the side of the road here, but if we turn it, we're not going to be able to see, I guess, what you would call the front, like the A and everything, from this angle. You would only really see it, if I turned it like this to kind of face one way or the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to back it up here now and see what that looks like. So let me see if we can do that. See, now that we've got the table scooched up, I'm going to go around there and pull it back. So if we were to put it at the end of the street back here, this thing I think could look good if we put it like right in here. It's a little tight. About 100% sure if we did not scoot out this table, the Avengers Tower would have hit the ceiling right here. For sure. Because it would have been right about here. So this thing I think is a little too big for the average city for sure. Let's go out to the other side and see what that looks like. Okay, and here it is from back here. So when you put it in the back, and that's kind of what I was thinking about doing to begin with, it doesn't look too bad because there's nothing it can really block. You lose some of the details with it because it's so far back, but we're going to have a lot more buildings being added into the city that are more of the height of the Palace Cinema, Craggle Town Hall, and the Sanctum and such, when that's going to be the outlier. We do have the Haunted House down here, which is pretty tall, and the Daily Bugle. It's going to be one of our other sets. Those are both taller buildings, which I think will look good kind of in this, quote, skyscraper-ish area. But I think putting it back there looks good, but I want to try a couple other things. Okay, and here it is kind of from this angle. You can see it gets really crowded with some of the stories kind of right next to it there. But that would be the street entrance. But if I'm going to face it this way, I need to face it, I think, the other way toward where I normally film, because I want to have access to the Quinjet. I think having it face the other way, you lose a lot of the details, and the other side of the tower is not as pretty to display as it is on this side. Okay, so what I've done, I've scooted over the Avengers complex that I have. And what we're going to do is I think we're going to slide the Avengers Tower forward and kind of just bring it straight up front. And that way you can see everything and see how huge this thing is. Okay, so there it is. And we've scooted that over. So let's go ahead and pull this bad boy forward. What we've done is we've got some of our superhero stuff still together with the Sanctum Sanctorum right across the street here and the Avengers Tower right here. The only thing with doing this is the way I've kind of set up my city thus far is it is not a corner building. So there's no sidewalk on this side. I would need to either expand it, give it basically another half base plate, or if I do expand the road section right in here, I'll be able to give it, a few squares going by. But this does put it kind of front and center in the city, which I like. And of course I'll make the road right here kind of scoot over this way, extend it so it kind of makes sense. And of course with the Lego City, what I like to always say, it's always changing and everything as well. So you never know what, once I maybe build the Daily Bugle, it might involve a whole nother change. But I think for today, this is where we are going to put the Avengers Tower, just because I want it to be front and center. I want folks to be able to see it, and I think it's going to look good in the Lego City. The only thing I don't like is this view here. So when you come in to the Lego City, as I like to film kind of this way a lot of the time as you're going by, you are seeing the back, which I was talking about earlier, that I don't like as much as what I guess you would say the more front side, where you've got Tony and Hawkeye and the Quinjet and everything. So I don't know. I think this is probably going to work for now. Let's go ahead and start working on some of the roads and such and kind of see where that leads us. But I think this is where the Avengers Tower is going to be placed for now. And I think it looks pretty good. All right, so what we're going to do now, we've got these pieces here. The curved ones are a little deceiving. I might have got too many of those because I don't really have too many curves in the city. But what we're going to do is we're going to look to expand our roads using a system similar to this right here. You can see how it extends off the gray plate, and then it adds a brick and a plate, and then we'll have sidewalk. Like I said in my previous video about the pieces, I was not able to get the 2x2 tiles yet, but we'll at least be able to get a foundation going to see if this is something that'll work for our city, as it doesn't work for everybody. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pop this open, build something, and see what it looks like. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pop open one of these road plate packs along with the additional pieces I've got here. And we're going to go ahead and make like a Mills plate-ish version of this and see what I like about putting the road together. If this works out and everybody likes it, I could make an instructional video on kind of how I do it. But let's go ahead and put it together and see what I come up with. Okay, you can see we kind of made a few part substitutions, as I don't think I got everything I needed from this order, so we're definitely going to have to place another one at some point. But you can see the overall idea when I do this here, by adding kind of just that extra brick is going to give a lot of cars the room they need in order to kind of fill out the city. Let's go ahead and try and add the basic parts that will become the sidewalk now. Okay, and you can see we kind of got the side over here. Obviously, we're just using the parts we have, but I think that's as far as we're going to be able to get right now. It's been a good learning opportunity kind of putting this together, thinking of better ways to maybe expedite this to maybe a bit less pieces, but it could be more expensive that way. But for now, let's go ahead and put this in the city kind of as is, knowing we're going to be making some changes and maybe order some more parts. But I think we're off to a good start, and hopefully this will lead to even more detail in the city later on. It kind of lines up well with the Avengers Tower right here, especially once we put some plate on top of this or some tile. It'll line right up and give us a good bit of space out front of the Avengers Tower there. But you can kind of see the idea of what we've got going on. I decided it was time to kind of fix up the, I guess you would call the town square area of the city for right now. So I took this and added this half base plate here in order to kind of center it on the Craggle Town Hall. So I'm going to try and do that and then have this line up with the new railroad track ever since we've changed that as well. So we're going to see what we can come up with to either straighten this up or do a slightly new design and just add a bit more details for now. Okay, and you can see this is what I've got so far. Just kind of did like the profile bricks kind of in those different colors, but then I used the ones I found on the pad wall kind of just for the stone color going around the sides. I might switch that out at some point if I don't like the wood tone kind of out front, but I think this will look good for now, and it'll look good kind of centered up in the city here. But let's see if we can get this part figured out of how that integrates better into the city. Okay, and right in here you can kind of see what I was able to do. I centered this up and got kind of the train track figured out and adding some of that detail in there and to make sure the train can go by. Gotta always do that when you're working on these curves with Lego. The yellow strip is kind of to be ignored. Basically what I'm going to do is extend that 6 studs once I have more like 2x2 tile. So that's just for me to remember that I am going to extend it kind of that way when I do this. And then I hope to maybe add like a tree or something right here. I think would be fun. I know it's a different color, but I'll kind of fill that in with more details as things go along. Over here is how I kind of decided to divide up the ocean. It's kind of, I guess, those like concrete blocks that you see. And I'm probably going to add some like water detail, something like that with waves kind of going against it. I might build it up. I might make it just kind of more like a pier looking thing. But for now, I think it works for what we're looking for in the Lego city. I'm a lot happier with how this looks. We got it cleaned up. I added a little block or like a stop right there. I might take this part out because I have kind of those half parts that I ordered, so I can just make this like a turn, I guess you would say, or I can kind of leave it something like this, but I'm probably going to make it a turn at some point. But for now, I think it looks okay. But we're going to keep chugging along here and add some details into this and start cleaning up because we've got a good bit of a mess over here. And we'll try and get the Lego city kind of back. And just like that, we've added a bit of vegetation down here to add a bit more of that detail. And I think it looks quite good now, especially this little area. And it's really kind of coming together here for me. Especially having just the edge of the table with all that green brick I was able to pick up on the pad wall. That's always helpful. Just looks good all in this area. And one day, of course, we will ballast our train track as well. But for now, I think it works. But let's fire up the train for just a second, just to make sure it clears. And looks like it went by okay, but let's throw it in reverse just to make sure. It's hard on those curves. Even if one place sticks out right in here, it can be like this one. Apparently I didn't actually push down. If it goes over, it's going to get hit and it's going to cause a lot of problems, especially at different speeds. It can derail the train and such, so we don't want that. We've also added a few other minifigures over here, just that we had hanging out around the city. So we've got Groot and Rocket and Valkyrie, Goliath, and a few other Forks Korgs hanging out over here. We've got all kinds of fun superheroes and folks over here. And of course, this little complex right next to it, it's got a bunch of other random figures as well, like Mr. Incredible and all kinds of folks there. We've got Star-Lord about to take off right there. I noticed you can see in the shadow of the tower now because it's blocked by the main light in the room. But it's okay. But I think this little area right here is really coming together nicely. So I think one of the next things we're going to do is probably build another building at some point. There's one thing I've been wanting to work on is to add something over into the nature area over here, which I think is like a camper van, kind of similar to that, but a little bigger. So I think we're going to knock that out maybe in one of our next videos, so stay tuned for that one. But I think that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and comment because it really helps the video out and helps the channel. But until next time, thanks for coming by Old Mountain Bricks today. Have a good one.